Do we have any fans of the BBC's Marianna Spring in the audience? We'll come on to her later. But first of all, I just want to underline what people have been saying, that 2016 really is the year zero for the misinformation, disinformation, panic. I mean, Google has this really nice tool called Ngrams, and you can put in a word and you can see the frequency with which that word is used. And if you search for misinformation and disinformation, I mean, it absolutely explodes around 2016, the Brexit and Trump year. It's a word that is used hardly ever, and then it just, is on sort of everyone's lips, and you can see it's used in, newspapers, in books, in all kinds of things. And obviously, as has been alluded to, this is part of the fact that, pretty wounded elite is struggling to make sense of why the little people haven't followed their instructions. The political bent of this is also clear in the rise of the kind of fact-checking industry. I mean, everywhere you go, there are people asserting themselves as fact-checkers. But it was interesting, the Washington Post stopped its its presidential fact-checking service 100 days after Joe Biden's election. It didn't feel the need to check the president's facts anymore. During Joe Biden's inauguration, the founder of Vox tweeted that it was nice not to have to fact-check what the president was saying. I think one of the key things here to underline is it's not really about what is being said, but who is saying it and why. What is the political bent behind it? Misinformation is tolerated if it serves an establishment cause, sneered at if it doesn't. I mean, you can literally see the same thing be declared true or false depending on whose mouth it comes out of. So, in early 2020, in the early days of the pandemic, think about something like the lab leak theory. That was censored across social media as a racist conspiracy theory, suppressed on Facebook, suppressed on YouTube. Then, again, Donald Trump's out of office, the Biden administration suggests, maybe there's something to it. Suddenly it's not misinformation anymore. Suddenly it's plausible and something that we can talk about. I mean, the BBC is a big offender in this regard, and there we come on to Marianna Spring. She's the social media and disinformation specialist correspondent. Most of her articles are about herself, but she does spread a fair bit of mis and disinformation, and mostly in relation to the misinformation panic, ironically. So according to Marianna Spring and the BBC, 1 in 4 Britons believe that COVID was a hoax. Think about that for a second. 1 in 4 Britons think it was a hoax. Not that they disagree with lockdowns, are a bit iffy about the vaccine, literally think the whole thing was fake and made up. According to Marianna Spring, 7% of Britons have attended a protest related to COVID or 15-minute cities. 7%. Now, to visualise that, that's around 3.4 million people. That would have been the biggest protest movement of all time, raging against 15-minute cities and various traffic calming measures. I mean, it's just these kinds of figures wouldn't pass the sniff test in an ordinary editorial conversation, let alone make it through the fact checker, the specialist disinformation reporter. So clearly there is a desire to exaggerate the scale of this problem, to suggest that free speech is getting out of hand. The traditional gatekeepers need to come back and reassert what is true and what is good and what is holy. And, as I was suggesting earlier, the fact-checking spotlight doesn't ever really shine on their favoured causes. I mean, the BBC, I've got to love the BBC, but it has made entire documentaries about men getting pregnant. I mean, I don't have to explain to you why that is not something that is real. BBC is very exercised about misinformation about the climate, but it never really challenges anything on the alarmist spectrum. So, for instance, recent Panorama claimed that more people are dying every year from extreme weather. I mean, this is a very easy fact to look up. Less people are dying every year from extreme weather. That's not to say that climate change isn't real, but, facts are facts, you'd have thought. you think we should be worried probably about alarmism on that topic. More than half of teenagers believe that the world will end in their lifetime. That seems to me to be something that, you know, people who are interested in facts and the truth ought to challenge and take to task. I'll end on a funny little twist to Marianna Spring's own story, because last year it emerged that she had been lying on her CV. So she actually, she claimed she'd worked with BBC Russia correspondent Sarah Rainsford and had never had any contact with her at all. So she disinfoed her way into the job as the specialist information reporter. Is it really the truth that we're talking about here? Is that really what this conversation is about? Or is this is less about, I would say, less about disinformation that people are worried about than disfavoured information?
Okay, thanks very much, Fraser.